Scoring a brace in the summer game for the national team, Erling Haaland surpassed Kylian Mbappe in goals for the season in all tournaments. The Norwegian is now objectively the most dangerous attacking player in top football. Experts say he still has room to improve. How many goals and assists will Erling score and provide at the peak of his career in dominant City or potentially any other club? When will he learn to dominate opponents in the air and under Pep's leadership further improve understanding of time and space? It's scary to even imagine. For now, the Norwegian with his best goal and assists record in his career ranks 11th in this century. We counted the goals and assists for club and the national team of all star attackers for each specific season, and here's our exclusive video about top 10 prime seasons of stars in the 21st century. We are used to judging players by their entire career, but let's see who was better than everyone else during a particular season in this century. There will be tons of surprises. Opening our list is Mohamed Salah with his out-of-this-world season of 17-18. Do you remember that? Liverpool bought the Egyptian in the summer of 2017. In 2.5 years in Italy, Mo saved his reputation as a great talent. The Reds paid a record £42 million for the 25-year-old striker. Still, few expected Salah, who scored about half a goal on average per game in Serie A with Roma, to start scoring goals in such crazy numbers in his first season with Liverpool. And he had the best debut in the league's history, which only Haaland was able to beat. And he wasn't just scoring goals. 1+1 in the very first game of the league, a goal in the Champions League qualifiers, then in the very first game of the group stage. In total, Mo would get 15 points in 13 Champions League games. In the first semi-final against his former club, he got 4 points. And in the final, he would have shown a great performance against Madrid if not for Sergio Ramos' wrestling move. In the Premier League, Salah scored almost in every game without a fair amount of luck. In the Premier League, for example, he scored almost 7 goals more than XG model predicted. But this also speaks to his amazing finishing. The Egyptian was named Player of the Month 3 times. And at the end of the championship, he took the title of the top scorer and predictably was named the Player of the Season by both footballers and journalists. Salah fit perfectly into Klopp's fast vertical football from the start and was able to reveal his best qualities in it, reaching his peak and becoming the team's leader. The final touch to Salah's excellent season was the Puskas Award, which Mo received in 2018 for a goal he scored in December 2017 in the Liverpool derby. I think we're witnessing the start of the greatness. That's how Gerrard characterized Mo's achievements in his debut season. Stevie G didn't yet know that this phrase could be applied to not only Salah, but also the rest of the squad. They would win all the possible trophies. But so far, Mo has not been able to repeat his record of goals plus assists set in the season of 17-18. And if they had won the Champions League then, Mo would surely have won the Ballon d'Or. At 9th place is Karim Benzema, who was on fire in the season of 21-22. He has the same 66 points as Salah in the 17-18 season, but the Frenchman has played fewer games, so we place him higher. The phenomenon of Karim, who reached his peak when he was already well over 30, was widely discussed. Several factors, including the absence of serious injuries, are the reason for such iconic performance. Throughout his career, Benzema has missed a maximum of 7 consecutive games in club tournaments. And experience, tactical learning, and psychological confidence were only improving with time. The most important factor was the return of Ancelotti to Madrid, who made Karim a key player and turned him into a complete player, as the coach himself put it. For me, he's a great number 9, a great all-rounder really. Said Don Carlo in 2015, and in 2022, everyone saw it. A striker with midfielder qualities, not just as supporting center forward. Well, with Ronaldo's departure, Benzema felt like a leader and began to score more goals, bringing the number to his record level in the 21-22 season. We have shown and discussed Karim's incredible performance in the Champions League spring of 2022 many times. hat-trick against PSG and Chelsea, a brace and 1+1, including the winning goal in extra time in the tight semi-final with Man City, Benzema became the top scorer in the Champions League and La Liga, with a significant lead as the most effective attacking footballer of the European season. And remember his goals in the semi-final and finals of the National League in the fall, when Karim finally won the trophy with the national team, where he had been an outcast for so many years. In 2022, Benzema won the Ballon d'Or award, the main individual prize now presented at the end of the season. Almost 3 times the lead in points over the closest opponent, one of the biggest leads in the history of the award, shows that no one was as cool as prime Karim that season. I think in many ways, thanks to that performance, he earned a salary of 100 million per year now in the Middle East. And it's important to say even there he shows world-class play. In 8th place is the prime Christian Ronaldo in the 11-12 season. People really slapped on him. At that time, the Dutchman was not in Ajax, Milan or Madrid, but in Schalke. However, he managed to score nearly 50 goals for a club with not so outstanding attacking group. On average, he scored a goal in every game. He became the top scorer in the Bundesliga, even though his team finished 3rd in both points and goals scored. He surpassed Lewandowski in the goal-scoring race. Ronaldo became the top scorer in the Euro 2012 qualifiers, scoring 4 goals in 4 qualification games in the fall of 2011. In the final list, he surpassed the number of players, including Klose and Villa. But let's get back to Ronaldo's club affairs at the time. There was an interesting situation there. Schalke had to look for a new head coach as early as September because Rangnick, who had returned to the club in the previous season, suddenly announced that he had an emotional burnout and left. An unpleasant situation for everyone, including Ronaldo, who clearly flourished under the Ralph's leadership. 15 goals in 15 games. Changing coaches is always a risk for those who feel comfortable. Experiments can begin that will break your entire game, but Ronaldo immediately impressed the newly appointed compatriot Huub Stevens by scoring 2 goals in his first game under his management. After that, the whole season under the guidance of a new coach went smoothly and turned out to be the record-breaking for Ronaldo. After a powerful start in the Eredivisie in the mid-2000s, the Dutch striker did not succeed in Italian and Spanish super clubs, but coming to Schalke, not so young anymore, he blew up again, and just how? And although Ronaldo did not score as much and as close in any other season in Germany, I still have the feeling that this player could have achieved significantly more in football if he had got along with coaches at Madrid or Milan. In 7th place is Robert Lewandowski in the 1920 season, who would have received the Ballon d'Or if it weren't for the C19. The Polish striker set a personal record for goals in both the National Championship and the Champions League that season, and eventually won the sniper race in both, while also providing the most assists. It is interesting that the dominant forward, who scored over 40 goals in the Bundesliga, was only named the Player of the Month once. Obviously, some other skills are more valued in Germany. Lewandowski was 32 at the beginning of that season, but he is known for his disciplined lifestyle, so there is no point in considering his peak season as an anomaly. Robert is only starting to age now. His finishing this season leaves so much to be desired, but I'm sure that with the right mindset, at the help of Javi, Robert has what it takes to get out of this. 3 years ago, under Flick, he was simply flying across the field. He scored in the first matchday for the 5th year in a row, which became a record for the Bundesliga. He didn't leave the field without a goal in the first 11 games, several times breaking the corresponding round records of the tournament. The same story in the Champions League. 1, 2, 2, 1, 4. That's how many goals Robert scored in the group stage matches. His haul in the 5th round became the fastest in the Champions League history. In the 6th round, the monstrous Robert was given a rest. And then playoffs. At that time, only the round of 16 had 2 games, the following only had 1 game. At least the number of points scored by the striker in the playoff games. 3, 4, 2, 2. It's madness! He just didn't score in the final. As for niche records, in February 2020, Robert matched Ronaldo's achievement of scoring the most away goals in the main European club tournament in one season. There were also 6 goals in 5 German Cup fixtures, but that's more for math geeks. In general, we have painted a picture for you, and it is absolutely obvious now. It was the greatest robbery in the history of the Ballon d'Or. The man became the best in Europe in terms of goals and assists, won the Champions League, Bundesliga and all other club tournaments, and in the end, they decided not to award him the main individual prize in football in 2020. No respect. The 6th place is for Prime Zlatan. By the numbers, his most productive season was the season of 15-16, when he scored and assisted the most while playing for PSG. Interestingly enough, by that time, top clubs no longer considered the aging forward as a priority. The Sheikh signed him in 2012 for only 21 million, making it perhaps the best transfer in the club's modern history in terms of value for money. In League 1, Zlatan averaged 39 goals and assists per season for 4 years. However, his peak performance was in the season of 15-16, where he became PSG's highest scoring player in a single League 1 season. What was it? Most likely it was the combination of excellent work in Paris and the strong coaching of Laurent Blanc. As we have mentioned before, the Parisian Sheikhs, as usual, made a mistake and underestimated one of the most serious coaches that had passed through their hands. Blanc worked for 3 seasons, systematically building the team's play, starting with the defense and then increasing the effectiveness of their attacks. Additionally, we can't forget about Ibrahimovic going against aging patterns. After turning 30, he started scoring more goals than before, which is considered a cut-off age in football. The 34-year-old player became the most productive player in the top 5 European leagues. Finally, PSG fans beat farewell to the Swede with a standing ovation, a farewell that Nasty can only envy. And the veteran himself attracted the interest of Man United and moved to the strongest league in the world. I can already imagine the skeptical comments about this position. Indeed, the shadow of Zlatan's main achievement in terms of goals and assists in his career is cast by the fact that he didn't even make it into the top 10 goal scorers in the Champions League that season. But Zlatan traditionally didn't perform well in the Champions League. In any case, and because of this, should we stop regarding Ibrahimovic as great? Moreover, he became the 2nd top scorer in the Euro 2016 qualifiers, scoring 11 goals and leading an average team to the final tournament. In 5th place is prime Thierry Henry, who was killing it in the 02-03 season. The Frenchman didn't become the top scorer in the Premier League at that time and did not win the league either, but he made an unreal number of assists for a forward. He became the first player in the history of Europe's major leagues to score at least 20 goals in the season while also providing at least 20 assists. Henry had 24 plus 25 in the league. He was recognized as the best player of the tournament by both professional footballers and journalists. And Henry was also named the player of the FA Cup final, even though he didn't score the winning goal and did not even provide an assist. Prime Henry astonished with his agility, ease of running and ball handling. And at the same time, he was ready to give his partner the right to take the decisive shot at any moment. His game hypnotized both spectators and defenders of rival teams. BBC recognized his goal against Tottenham as the most beautiful of the season. Before that season, France, as the current world champions, had failed at the World Cup in Japan and Korea. Henry also struggled, failing to score or assist, and was even benched when there were still theoretical chances of making it into the playoffs. But the Euro qualifiers began, and Henry became the leader of the French team, not leaving the field without at least 1 goal or assist in the fall of 2002 and spring of 2003. Henry finished 2nd in the Ballon d'Or voting in 2003, a controversial decision, in my opinion, as Nedved was not as impressive. In the following season, Arsenal went undefeated to win the Premier League. The famous myth of Invincibles was born. Henry scored almost half of the team's goals in the league, but fell short of his peak season in 02-03 in terms of goals and assists. Next up is another Frenchman, Kylian Mbappe. The young superstar's personal record to date is 80 goals and assists, which he achieved in the season before last. By the way, Haaland still needs to improve his personal record by 15 points to reach that level. But let's go back a year, when Mbappe's impressive stats began to suggest that he should be considered one of the main options for the Ballon d'Or. He eventually finished 6th in the voting, a bit strange. Interestingly, in the season before last, Mbappe almost reached 20 assists in the league. In other words, he became a much more versatile striker. Another achievement in Ligue 1 was his brace against Monaco in November, which made Mbappe the youngest player to score 100 goals for one team in the top division of France since the 1950-51 season, or maybe in the entire history, because that's the earliest we could find. Mbappe averaged 2-goal contributions per game in the French Cup and had 6+6 in 8 Champions League games. His brace against Club Brugge in the last group game made him the youngest player in the tournament history to reach and surpass 30 goals. He scored against Real Madrid in both games of the round of 16. At that time, seemed to be a catalyzing process for his transfer to Madrid. But in May, Mbappe unexpectedly extended his contract with PSG, causing widespread disappointment. In Madrid, he could have scored and assisted no less, but by staying in Paris, he lost his motivation. But we've already talked about it several times. The third spot on the list belongs to Luis Suarez from the 15-16 season. It was the second time that the Uruguayan broke the dominance of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi in terms of goals scored. In the 13-14 season, Suarez shared the Golden Boot award with Ronaldo, and in the 15-16 season, he scored even more and won the award outright. He also became the best player in terms of goals and assists in top-level football. The main reason for Suarez's success was the Amazon trio at Barcelona, who were tearing up the league. They scored a combined 204 points in goals and assists in all competitions that season. Suarez ended up with the most points due to his impressive performances. Even Messi was slightly overshadowed by him. Suarez started the season with a goal and an assist in the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla. In the league, he had a streak of 7 games where he contributed at least 1 goal, and he ended up with a total of 12 goals during that period. He also scored his 300th career goal during that time and scored twice in the Classic away win against Real Madrid. In December, Suarez became the first player in the Club World Cup history to score a hat-trick. He helped Barcelona defeat Guangzhou Evergrande in the semifinals and scored twice in the final against River Plate. He was named the best player of the tournament. In February, Suarez scored 4 goals against Valencia in the Copa del Rey, and he scored a stunning goal against Arsenal in the Champions League knockout stages. He also scored twice against Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals, although eventually Barcelona was knocked out. In April, Suarez became the first player in La Liga history to score back-to-back hauls. In the last 5 games of the season, he scored a remarkable 18 points in goals and assists. When he scored his first haul against Deportivo, he also provided 3 assists, which means that he earned 7 points in that game alone. Amazon were simply tearing up the league, and Suarez was the best player that season. The first 2 spots on the list are as we are used to. Second is Ronaldo. His peak performance came in the 14-15 season, in the middle of which he turned 30. In the opening game of the season, Ronaldo's brace helped win the UEFA Super Cup. Then, playing on both the right and the left wings, he scored 5 goals in the first 4 rounds of La Liga, missing round 2 due to injury. But Ancelotti had an idea for an additional boost for this scoring machine. Carlo began experimenting with moving Ronaldo to the center forward after the first few rounds. In reality, Cristiano himself likes starting on the left and breaking into the middle. But now he was made a center forward and he went off. A hole in the very first game in his new role, and Ronaldo's streak with points in La Liga lasted from the 1st to the 19th round. In December, Ronaldo became the fastest player in La Liga history to reach 200 goals in 178 games. At the end of the year, Cristiano joined the company of 3-time Ballon d'Or winners of Cruyff, Platini and Van Basten. Messi was ahead. Opponents couldn't get used to Ronaldo's new role yet, and he himself showed that he can, almost better than anyone else in the world, find open space and the ball in the opponent's penalty area. In that apex season, Ronaldo set personal records for finishing in national championships and for goals in all tournaments. He rose to the top of the Champions League scoring charts for the third consecutive season. He made a goal for the first time in his career and scored his 300th goal for Real Madrid. In the last 2 match days of the Liga, he scored a hat-trick. Of course, he won the Golden Boot. But all these scoring achievements did not lead to the team triumph. Real Madrid remained without big trophies in the 14-15 season. Everything went to Barcelona. That's how it happens. Usually, footballers say they are ready to exchange individual awards for team titles, but in the case of Ronaldo, I wouldn't be so sure. He was probably ecstatic about his real numbers that season. And the first one, you guessed it right. Messi reached his peak in the 11-12 season. When he was 24 years old, he accumulated 116 points with goals and assists. Many decent attacking footballers don't even score that much in their entire career. He was almost 30 points ahead of his eternal rival's record, although Leo played more games that season than Cristiano did in the 14-15 season. This seems to be a trend. Messi also had his most successful season when his club didn't win anything domestically or the Champions League, although the year before Barcelona won the main titles. Anyway, the numbers shown by Leo amazed the world. I'm not even talking about his 91 goals in 2012. Messi scored 3 or more goals in a game more than 10 times in the 11-12 season. He started with goals and assists in the Spanish and European Super Cups, which were won by Barcelona. In the Spanish Super Cup final, they beat Real Madrid, and Leo was directly involved in all 3 goals for his team. At the end of the La Liga season, Messi had 2 goals, 6 hat-tricks and 7 braces. We all admire Haaland's last season and his 36 goals in the league, but Leo had 50 goals in the Liga alone back then. 9 points in 5 Champions League group stage matches, a goal in the round of 16 against Bayern. This is a unique scoring achievement. It is clearly underestimated. Some might say, well, it was just Bayern, but even Messi only has 2 goals in his career. The second will be for the national team in a friendly game against Estonia in 2022. But it is certainly not as good as the 4 goals he scored in the playoffs of the most competitive club tournament of the planet. Unfortunately, in the summer of 2012, Pep left Barcelona, who opened the world to prime Messi. It was undoubtedly a blow for the club. Let's imagine, if Guardiola had stayed, could Messi have repeated or even improved his phenomenal goals plus assist stats from that season? Write what you think in the comments. That's it, guys. If you liked it, I'm waiting for your like and sub to the channel. As you realized, we only took 1 best season from each player. Write who stood out to you the most and let's vote for the best one in the comments down below. See you soon, know the ball.